Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a really fascinating lecture to unpack today, one that's going to completely shift how we look at ambition, charity, and even our spiritual duty. We're diving into a framework that kind of takes everything we thought we knew about a successful life and just flips it entirely on its head. Right off the bat, we're hitting you with a pretty heavy question. Is your idea of success actually setting you up for ruin? I mean, think about it. When a massive career opportunity drops in your lap, the default reaction is to celebrate, right? We think, yes, finally, my big break. But the source material we're digging into today actually asks us to hit the brakes and deeply question what grabbing a new title actually means for our future. Just look at this stark warning. The speaker says, success without preparation and power is not success at all. It leads to a bitter downfall and ruins your life. Wow. So according to this philosophy, stepping into a role that you haven't genuinely prepared for internally, it's basically a trap. The lecture argues that grabbing an unearned position guarantees you're going to face some serious backlash later on. We're talking physical illness, losing the respect of your peers, and basically destroying your life. It's a hugely sobering way to look at climbing the corporate ladder.
Section 1. Rethinking Success and Opportunity.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We really need to rethink how we view success. This brings us to the first major paradigm shift of the lecture. It focuses on the hidden mechanics of how opportunities actually show up in our lives and, well, why we usually miss them. So, according to this philosophy, the universe has a very specific rhythm. It says every single person gets exactly 3 distinct opportunities. Just 3, and they aren't random at all. They show up at very specific, predetermined stages in your life. It's a super structured view of destiny. The idea is you have 3 distinct windows to step up, claim your path, and actually use the preparation you've been building up.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it contrasts our societal norms with the actual truth. On one side, you've got conventional success. That's just getting promoted or snagging a shiny new title. But on the other side, true success. This is having the deep internal preparation and actual power to execute the duties of that position. The lecture hammers home that confusing these two is a really dangerous illusion. If you're just chasing the title without the inner capability to back it up, well, that's exactly when you're setting yourself up for that bitter downfall we talked about earlier.
Section 2. What if you missed out? This naturally brings up a highly practical, if somewhat uncomfortable question. What's the wise way to live if you look back and realize, I didn't prepare and those 3 critical life opportunities already passed me by? Well, the lecture has a very clear protocol for this exact scenario, and it comes with a stark warning. Expanding on your own without preparation is totally reckless. If you try to force your solo ambitions when you just don't have the necessary power or internal foundation, it's a foolish move. The metaphor they use here is actually really striking. You will trip over a stone, get crushed, and lose everything. Basically, failure is guaranteed because you simply can't fake the preparation it takes to lead.
So the crucial point here is how you pivot once you realize this. The lecture lays out 3 clear steps if you've missed your window. Step 1, humbly acknowledge your lack of preparation. Step 2, absolutely avoid any reckless solo expansion. And step 3, attach yourself to a prepared leader and assist them. Here's why this works. A leader who actually did prepare and sees their opportunities, they have massive work to do now. They literally need manpower to hit their goals. And you desperately need their guidance and infrastructure so you can safely participate in meaningful work without getting crushed. It's a perfectly aligned, mutually beneficial relationship.
Section 3. The True Scale of Charity.
Let's move on and see how this all builds together. When you get all these unprepared people gathering around a fully prepared leader, something amazing happens. They form an organization. But what's the actual endgame of this group? This brings us to a radical reinterpretation of charity and our duty to society. The lecture completely redefines the concept of welfare. Usually we think of welfare as simple handouts or basic charity, but the source material defines it as the ultimate, highest mass business that actively advances society. It's framed as the absolute most profound, energy-intensive thing a society can do. In fact, it argues that doing this work correctly is what eventually grants a nation the power to lead humanity. It's literally the pinnacle of collective achievement.
Which obviously begs the question, what should a massive organization actually be doing? According to the text, individuals pool their efforts together because their own limitations, or what the source calls their heavy karma, are just too immense to overcome alone. So they form massive organizations to achieve what they simply couldn't pull off individually. But here's the catch. Operating at this massive scale requires a massive shift in strategy.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core critique the speaker has about modern organizations. Look at small groups, say 3 to 200 people.
They are perfectly suited for handing out rice or buying heating briquettes for people in need. That scale makes sense for them. But large groups? We're talking massive congregations or organizations with tens or hundreds of thousands of people. They absolutely must execute deep, complex, society-advancing work. They shouldn't be wasting their time on superficial charity that a handful of people could easily knock out on a Saturday afternoon.
Think about it. When a huge group with tens of thousands of members just hands out bags of rice, they're completely wasting what the lecture calls their furnace-like energy. Failing to harness this incredible, concentrated collective energy for high-level impact means the group has totally misunderstood its fundamental purpose. And the lecture warns that wasting this time and energy on small handouts, especially when you have massive power at your disposal, will actually result in punishment and negative consequences for the group. It's just a squandered opportunity on a massive scale.
Section 4. Redefining our spiritual duty.
So, we've covered career success, and we've talked about the scale of charity. Now let's see how this exact same framework of power, preparation, and scale applies to the divine and our ultimate spiritual purpose. The text offers a really sharp contrast here. The illusion is that we should constantly be asking the divine for favors, endlessly crying out for help and basically acting like a helpless child who needs a savior for every little problem. But the reality? The reality is that the divine favors true disciples, the people who actually step up and do the heavy, prepared work of advancing society.
I absolutely love this next quote from the source because it paints such a vivid, undeniable picture. The speaker says, "When the sheep is grown, it needs to give wool." What a brilliant metaphor. I mean, sure, a baby lamb is adorable, and it's totally fine to be helpless when you're young and just starting out. But come on, you can't act like a baby lamb forever. Eventually, you gotta grow up. And when you are grown, you must produce value. You have to give wool. You need to contribute something significant to the world around you, rather than just constantly consuming.
So, let's quickly summarize the core philosophy we've explored today. First, doing genuinely good, prepared work in the world actively prevents hardship from entering your life. It literally acts as an energetic shield. Second, your power multiplies exponentially when you're genuinely helping others at scale. And finally, true discipleship isn't about constantly asking for things. It requires massive, impactful action. It's all about combining your energy with prepared leaders to execute the ultimate business of societal welfare.
Well, this brings us to a close, and I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative question, based on the text. Are you still acting like a baby sheep, constantly asking the universe for favors, or are you truly prepared to join forces with those who are ready, step up to the plate, and finally produce the wool that society so desperately needs? Take a moment today to really think about the scale of your own impact. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.